Hi everybody, welcome to Woo Woo Wednesday. Today I wanted to share a message that I got many years ago. Probably, I'm going to say over 20 years ago I got this message. But it still pertains to our lives today. It's pretty universal and timeless. And the reason I'm going to share this message is because so many times we get impatient with the changes we want to see, either in ourselves or in others. If we're healers and we see clients on a regular basis, sometimes we get impatient because they don't heal as quickly as we like. If we're the healee, if we're the person that's trying to heal ourselves, whether it's physical healing or emotional healing or spiritual healing, sometimes we just get impatient and we're like, why can't I just go to a healer and be fixed after one visit? And so, years and years ago, I've been a healer for a long time. And years ago, this question was coming up. And I was like, why does it take so long? And what happened was, and this was, like I said, it's been a long time ago. In the beginning, I love playing in nature. I love gardening. I love water features, stuff like that. But when I was younger, probably in my early 30s, I decided that I wanted a pond in my front yard. We had just bought a house and moved in, me and my first husband. And I decided that I really wanted a pond in the front yard. But we didn't have a lot of money. And so what happened was I decided that I was going to just dig a hole, put a liner in it, put some fish in it, and see what happened. So I had not done my research. I had not, learned how to properly create a water feature in the yard. And so I didn't know you had to have a pump. I didn't know that you needed different plants in order to keep the water clean. I didn't know any of that. Basically, I was creating a goldfish bowl in the ground in my front yard, is what I basically did. I went and bought a liner so that the water wouldn't leak out. And I filled it up with water and I went and bought a bunch of fish. And I put the fish in there. I think I bought about 14 fish, little tiny goldfish. So what happened was the neighborhood cats came and ate pretty much all the fish as far as I knew. The water got all green and mucky. But then wintertime came and I did not take care of the pond. Like I just let it go for the winter. And I thought, well, all the fish are gone. I'm just going to let it go for the winter. In the spring, I'll clean it out and figure out what I'm going to do. So spring came and I had a dream. And it was probably, early March when things are just starting to thaw out here in Virginia. And I had a dream, and in the dream, I had gone out to the pond, and there was two fish swimming around in the water. They were alive. They'd made it through the winter, and they were alive. Now, you've got to understand that yes, the ice had thawed, and the water was out there, but it was green. It was completely green. It was mucky. It was full of algae and all that mucky, gross kind of, it's been sitting for months. And so when I woke up from my dream, I thought, well, I better go out and check and see if there's any fish in the pond that are alive. And I didn't think there were because I hadn't seen any evidence of that. But so I went outside and looked, and sure enough, there was two fish swimming around in this green mucky water. So I was like, oh my gosh, I got to save these fish. So I went to the store and I bought a glass bowl and I bought some dechlorinator and I brought it home, put some rocks in the bottom and filled it up with water, put some dechlorinator in it and got the two fish out of the pond, put them in the water. And then I thought, well, I'm just going to, do some work on the pond and probably just try to get all the water out and do something different. I was outside for maybe a half an hour, came back inside, and guess what? Fish were dead. They made it through all of this green, mucky stuff. They made it through living through the winter and the pond freezing over. They made it through living in this algae infested, gross, been sitting there for months and months water. And I took them out, put them in the clean water, and the fish died. I was devastated. I thought, oh my God, I killed these fish. So the next day I went to work. I was working at the post office then, and one of the guys at work has a pond, a pretty big pond. And so I told him the story, and he said, Joy, you shocked the fish. You should have taken some of the green mucky water out, put it in the fish bowl, got the fish out, put them in the fish bowl with the green water, and just every day taken a little bit of green mucky water and poured in some clean water. Eventually, you would have them acclimated to being in clean water, and they would have survived. So the message that Spirit gave me was that healing doesn't come immediately, that even enlightenment doesn't come immediately. Changes that we want to see in the world, they don't come immediately. And I know sometimes we think that we'd like to see that. And sometimes we think, oh my gosh, how much longer am I going to have to live in this green mucky water? I'm really tired of it. But progress comes incrementally, and enlightenment and healing and all of the things that make our lives better, a sense of well-being. If we're used to living in green mucky water, so to speak, if we're used to living in a cesspool of emotional baggage and, heartache and trapped emotions, all of those things, even if you go to a healer like me and we identify those emotions and we remove them from your energy field or those limiting beliefs, or, we heal all of the wounds that you've had in your soul, every now and then change is immediate and you all of a sudden feel wonderful and you're living in this nice clean water. But what happens is that if our soul isn't used to living in all of that cleanness, that we're not going to be able to survive. We're probably going to take a few backward steps back into the old comfortable way. When I was working at the post office, I worked nights for 14 years, and I, at some point, got enough seniority where I could bid on a day job. And so I went from completely working nights from I don't know what it was like midnight to say 8:30 or something like that. I don't remember exactly. And the day job started at 9 in the morning and was till 5:30 or 6. So when I jumped from working nights to working days, it was torture. I was always tired when I should have been awake. I was always awake when I should have been asleep. I couldn't do it. I ended up bidding off that job and bidding on another one that started at 4 or 5 in the morning. So it was an incremental thing. And eventually, after I worked that job for a while, I went back to the day shift again. So, in our lives, we can't expect and we can't expect it from ourselves, and we can't expect it from other people. We can't expect to just jump from living in the darkness to living in the light. We can't just jump from living in a pond of green mucky water to living in a nice fishbowl of nice clean water or whatever. If you liken this to your own life, what areas of your life have been really difficult? What areas of your life have you been wounded or damaged, or even a physical situation, or a cultural or racial or whatever kind of situation you're living in? It doesn't come overnight. You can't change the water that you live in overnight. It's an incremental thing. And so even if we say, for example, we look at the racial things and we think, well, slavery ended how many years ago? A long 100, 200, what is it, 18, 150 years ago or whatever. It's been 150 years. Shouldn't we be better off than we were then? And the answer is, well, yeah, we should be, but we have to incrementally change the minds and the hearts of everybody involved, of all races, and all thoughts, all belief systems. There's plenty of causes that you could liken this to, that you can't expect everybody to just wake up one morning and all of a sudden accept people who they've never been able to accept before. It just doesn't work that way, even though we would like to see it work that way. When I was in my former belief system in Christianity, we believed in the rapture, and we thought, oh, we're living in this world, and all of a sudden Jesus is just going to come back. He's going to take us all away. We're going to live in this paradise, and everybody else, they can just perish. We don't care. So it just doesn't work that way. one day we're living in darkness and the next day we're living in light. Well, what's going to happen? We're not going to be able to acclimate ourselves to living in that completely different world that from what we're used to. It takes a little bit at a time. It takes us, learning and growing and evolving and healing and loving each other and being kind. It takes a little bit at a time. So let me just encourage you today. Uh, Look at your life and look at the people around you. You might have somebody in your life who you think, man, I just wish they'd get their act together. They're just getting on my nerves. It goes for yourself, but it also goes for the other people in your life. If you've been trying and trying and trying and trying to help the people that you love, your loved ones, to improve their lives, and it just seems like it's an uphill battle, well, look at them now and then look at them maybe 10 years ago or whatever and say, well, they're better off than they were. Or if you look at the racial thing and you say, well, it's not any better. Well, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. If you look back, 50 years ago, things were a lot worse then. So we can't really say that we haven't made any progress. Yes, sometimes the progress is slow. Sometimes we got to pour in that clean water just a little bit at a time, and we can't really even tell a difference. But just be patient and know that progress is coming. It's incremental. Sometimes we take great leaps forward and we think, oh, wow, this is great. And then all of a sudden we seem like we took 7 steps back. And it's almost like we're losing progress. And that's disheartening. It is. It's disheartening. But let us just realize that we are making progress. Whatever you want to liken that to in your life, you're making progress. You're better off than you were a year ago. You're better off than you were 10 years ago. And congratulate yourself on those things. Congratulate yourself that today you can say that you're better off than you were, even yesterday, maybe. So let's just be kind to ourselves. Let's be gentle with ourselves, and let's be gentle and kind to the people around us, and know that change is coming, progress is coming, enlightenment is coming, but it's probably not going to be a overnight thing. It's probably going to come incrementally. And, every day there's a little bit of progress made. Every day we move a little bit forward. And that's just the way it works. Okay? So have a great week. And I will see you here next Wednesday for Woo Woo Wednesday.